Hello, Daniel. I'm here. Welcome to my screen. This is, I think, number 4 or 5. I just wanted to go through some options regarding the next thing. So, the soccer expansion project, coaches, players, and clubs just want to be in a position to help people out. Been around for a few years now in America, originally from Leicester in England. Did my FA Prelim badge and now run a club and have managed several hundreds of players, maybe thousands of players over the last couple of decades. And I'm now wanting to find a way to bring people together, offer a chance to people to help each other. Soccer expansion project and planning in the planning phase right now. We're eventually going to have some form of platform here in the middle where all of the things on the right hand side will be our partners. So administration, people who help with players, coaches. I'm working with Stuart and Gary Monk at Soccer Profile. More on that on another time. All the way through to retail, even to entrepreneurs, people looking to start clubs, build grants. Excuse my kids in the background are playing. They're excited after school. And on the left hand side would be everybody, all of us, me included, coaches. What information do we need from the people on the right hand side to help us make the right types of decisions and the right types of give the right opportunities for kids. Um, Excuse me, Parker, if you could ask Simon to be quiet, please, that'd be great. I'm in the middle of something. Yeah, thank you. This is real time, everybody. Real time. Good gracious. So anyway, more on that later. I'm thinking of having a membership portal here, and we have access to all the help on the right hand side. Anyway, for today, so the idea being that we formed a club, and what do we do now? And we had some previous, some previous things here about forming a club, coaches saving for retirement, payroll, website providers, all the different types of things we might get involved with. But now we've done that, how do we structure the players? So in no particular order, and I don't necessarily like a triangle for these things because I think that rec isn't necessarily just at the bottom. Rec can continue depending on the age of the kids, and they can keep playing. But the idea is we have this interchange among levels within the club. If it's done correctly, if the US soccer model and the world soccer model say that we want to provide soccer for everybody, regardless of ability, then we as a club provider should be doing that. So how does that happen? How does that work? Where do you start? The big thing I wanted to talk about was this rec here. This is the thing that gets ignored. There aren't too many people, Parker, if you guess them again, there aren't too many people that start a club, for example, with a view that they're going to work in the grassroots environment. There's usually this sense of working in these areas to help the players there, or there's something that's amiss, or there's a part missing, or it might be a geographical thing to help out in these areas here. So, but this thing's important. It's important for long term. I believe it's important for the things that we love about coaching, which is to give kids a place to socialize, play, exercise, meet new friends, especially coming out of COVID, is hugely important. Um, so rec is where it's at, and I always say that this is where we end up as players. I'm 47 years old, and I'm going to go play in what is a rec league tonight with the over 35 adult league, and that's okay. We all end up there. So this is important if you can develop that culture from here, you're developing love for the game, a little bit of skills maybe, but just play, enjoy it, have kids wanting to come back. I've got a bit of a gap here, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But here is local travel. So this is where kids get on teams, we have coaches, and we travel around the area playing matches against other clubs. And then we have maybe a top level. I don't like the word elite, but premier maybe, but your higher level groups playing maybe over a bigger distance, playing tougher competition. The reason why there's a big gap here is I think there's a lot of times where there's this big divide between rec and travel. And I've always liked the idea of having something that bridges this because there tends to be this big sort of status. I'm a rec player versus a travel player. And they have travel tryouts and the rec kids don't make it, yada, yada, yada. So I like the idea of building, and I'll probably mess up here, but maybe build a bridge program in here. Call it a bridge. I think you understand. But, like something in between. That's a good idea for a bridge. But something in between here, where kids here that want a little extra during a season can come and do something else. Maybe it's one day a week. Maybe it's just pick up. And maybe it's these kids here that also want something else. They want a little tech training. They want a little extra something. They want to play one more day. This is a way to pull those kids together and use this as an evaluation for where they might go next, especially these players here. I remember I worked with a club about 12 or 13 years ago, and there was this, it was rec or travel, nothing in between. And all these kids got cut from travel, and these young kids. And I was not there at the time. I came on board a little soon after those decisions and came in and I said, well, what are they doing? Well, they were going to go play rec. And how do they feel about that? Well, they wanted to play travel. There was about 50 of them. It's okay. And why did they want to go play travel? They wanted to be tested. They wanted to compete. They wanted to learn a bit more, wanted to, and but the answer for them for that particular 3 months of the year was just rec, and they'd already done that. So I said, let's build something. So we ran a Sunday night training session in here with all the kids that didn't make this part, and they loved it. I think we had 30 or 35 kids come, did a load of ball work, did a load of intra-squad scrimmaging, and essentially gave them something extra that they wanted, kept them playing. They still played here, and then eventually they ended up getting to the point where they can go try out next time. So it was all good. But you need some sort of bridge, or else this void just gets bigger and bigger. So a few of the things to talk about. So triage, that's a word I've been using lately. Who's responsible for moving these players around? Triage is a word that's used in nursing and obviously the healthcare. When you first arrive at the ER, someone will triage you, get some preliminary data, and then put you in a certain area. So who triages the players for your soccer club? It's tough. If you have a single point of focus, I think that's best personally. Maybe at certain levels, um, but maybe you have several people involved in those conversations. So triage is important. Who's going to do it? What criteria are they looking for? Do people know that they are the point person for triaging players? Um, Triage could happen where players are moving down in quotation marks, right from here to here, for the best of their well-being. So that ties into mission. We're trying to help players be in an environment that helps them. Short versus long term is important. You might have some players here that could help out in these areas here for the short term, but maybe long term they might just end up here, and that's okay. So those things need to be clear. And then customers, I wrote, like the retention, player movement. So if you move players around, you triage these people in this space here. How does that look? What do people do? How do they react? Are they really on board with your, it comes back to mission. Are they really on board with your flexibility, your mission of your club? If you're moving a player, if you're a DOC or a technical director and you're moving a player from here to here because up here they're playing at a high level, it didn't work out, they're frustrated and going to quit. What happens if they move? Are the parents okay with that? How does that conversation pan out? I've always felt that it's best to have the conversations at the start to say these things might happen. So flexibility is important. Players can move, that kind of thing. But having that all done at the start is important. What about triaging? What happens if there's a committee? How does that work out? Who's in charge? Is it the parents get involved? Are parents involved with? I'm talking about parents of a kid on a particular team or in a particular group. You know, the perception of that would be one that doesn't sound like it's going to be impartial. It's going to be biased. Something to consider. If you're working with 3, 4, 5 other coaches and there's a pool of players that you're talking about who to triage and where, I've been involved in this and it's pretty horrible. People fight over certain players. I need this kid. I need that kid. I want that kid. Well, we'll dual roster them. Well, okay, but I need him for this day. But no, I need him for this day. We've got a big game. So it gets really challenging at that point. So the triaging piece for us, I've been through all the different models. Maybe not all of them, but a few. I personally like to have one person that's in charge, the DOC of all the player movement, and that person's not attached in terms of family to any kids. And that's it. And you make that clear at the start. And if that's something that's not doable, then don't be with us. That's okay. Go do something else. We've had players leave. We've had families leave. We've had good friends leave the club because they've been unhappy with the way that I move players around in the club. But I had no skin in the game. I'm doing it for the very best of my capabilities and for the long-term, short-term player development model that we have and for the teams themselves. And we all of a sudden have players leaving town. That's okay. I'll still sleep okay. But These things are going to happen. So I'm sure people are aware of that. Age is important, of course, just in general, how we're monitoring that. So there's lots of things in terms of your product. This is where you're gaining your customers. This is the thing you're going to sell. We've got this thing. We've got the club structured. This is what we're offering now. We'll get into coaches. We'll get into all the other parts as we go. But in terms of a 10,000-foot overview of what your club looks like from a player opportunity standpoint, is it clear? What does it look like? What levels are they at? Who's responsible for moving them around? Who's in charge? Especially once you get to these higher things here, people start to get a little crazy. Who's in charge of all of that? And does it fit with your mission? And what is your mission? Is it to make sure you've got the best players in the world up here and it negates this? Is it to give a place for everyone to play, but also catering to the top level players? If you move a player from here to here, does that negate your mission? Does it, all of those things need, as long as you can stick with what you believe is the right way to go and the people are on board with you to start with, then you'll sleep well at night. And I wish you the best, and I'm here to help. Um, I will say that for me personally, I always think about the end game, right? So, what is it? What is the end game? Um, help players get better, have them enjoy the sport and continue to play, and be good humans. That's it. Nothing's mentioned in there about teams winning tournaments, winning leagues. We love winning, and we do win, but we find ways that we just focus on helping Fred or Sarah or whoever get better and enjoy the training environment. That's the only thing we can really say guarantee, but that's the closest thing we can guarantee. We can't guarantee winning. If we played the US men's national team and lost 25-0, are we a bad club? Am I a terrible coach? So the recognition of opposition level is important. That's another story. Um, anyway, I just wanted to also mention this because I found this. So the German Federation starting 24-25 for all their youth players. They're moving to this. So here is a U10, U11 field, and the kids will just bounce around, right? So here's one big field, and they divide it up into 2v2s, 3v3s, 4v4s, 5v5s, 7v7s, whatever it would be. And they'll just play mini festivals within their age group. No traveling around, no craziness. No, we've got players that are 6 and 7 years old traveling 2 hours for tournaments, and parents spending $1,000 in the weekend. Anyway, that's another story. But this is what Germany are bringing in, and it just goes down in terms of the youth. So U6s and U7s will play a bunch of 3v3s. Here's the format. They're just festivals, and they get to play lots of different people. No set teams. I love this, and I'm going to be talking about this some more. So anyway, there we go. Thanks for listening. That was a long presentation, and I'll put some links below in the comments section to get involved or to shout out or to give me your thoughts. But I'm hoping this sort of concept helps, and I'd be interested to know what people think. All right, cheers. Thank you.